How's everybody doing this rainy day?
Great.
Thanks for showing up. I know it's not ideal. You see that we have so many people here tonight. Those who's helping us spread the word, So we're always looking for better content and things that you'd like to hear and see. To let us know. You can reach out to one of us or just on the Meetup site. Say hey, it'd be great if you guys did this or that. I want to start tonight's meeting off with a little bit of just picking your brains about some of the issues you guys might be having going on, and we'll just kind of put them up here and we'll kind of tackle things as we go in case we see a break here and there. So we can kind of talk about some of these technical issues, or just BIM in general. If you have an idea like, oh, BIM would be great if we could do this, or I think I was talking to some of you guys earlier, and I'll kind of start off. Someone had a question about how. Okay.
Filters. I'll tell you the 4 that I got today on a phone call was walls, phases, packages. Y'all ever do packages where you have one model but all the pages are going in different directions? That can be quite confusing because Revit doesn't let you name the page the same.
Walls?
It's internal. That's okay. You can do some crazy stuff with walls if you want. Things you never thought of with walls.
Yeah, that's really commercial PGAL walls.
We'll see.
Anything. Sorry.
Doors was in there.
Design option.
And I think it's more of like a nested family question.
Anybody have a problem with door schedules? Nobody? I guess we're the only ones. It's okay.
You know that when you bring in a CAD drawing, if you mention that CAD drawing, you run it. If you update the CAD drawing,
You have to mention to the CAD
Yeah.
What's the answer to that? Don't dimension to the CAD drawing?
Yeah.
Just sort of that.
2006.
You are reference line. It's not the best, but we should go.
What situation do you have that in mostly? Is it site plans or is it?
Site plans.
Okay.
That's you bring in a survey.
Yeah.
You try to work your either you work your site in another architect drawing or start working.
Yeah. I mean, sites in general are challenging in different ways.
Are you are you checking the options like straight line? Don't check that option straight line. So just make your it'll make your site file accurate. Any other recommendations for Ken about?
Well, one guy often he said to click on it, do detail on it, click on the CAD line, get Revit, and that creates a Revit detail line.
Mm-hmm.
But you can only do that, and then you dimension for detail. I tried to do that with I had some. It wouldn't let me bring those dimensions back because it was still looking. It wouldn't. Yeah, you have to do a full page to bring them back.
Yeah, the beforehand you might want. I mean, if worst might find it. Go back to the version where we're still there. Find it, and then copy that over. But that's why I like using reference lines because they don't show up. You want the lines. What's your issue about Revit filters?
For interior innovation, trying to filter them out.
Just certain ones, right?
Yeah, you have different elevation tags.
Brian, I don't see the link. This is
I think with most callouts, you can just say, height that scales portion of that.
Right. Just a question. Is there a way to filter
It does that.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Well, right, most parameters, I don't know. Just say create a custom parameter for description.
Got something to drink?
It's fine.
Yeah, so that, yeah. Every single view that's a call that you can hide. You can say hide scales. I know that applies to sections. I think you're probably sure. Here's correct. And then we'll do one more real quick. Tiffany, so you mentioned design options. So, did you configure design options?
I hadn't done it in so long. And this week I came across it and I just do a bunch of it.
And sometimes when not to use them, right? There's other methods for kind of doing plan designs that we could talk about in that class. That'd be great.
Yeah.
To design option or not.
Just some real quick rules of thumb for design options. You want to create separate views specifically for each design option. Don't try to manage all design options from within one view. So, floor plan option 1, floor plan option 2. Go into the visibility graphic option and say, only show me design option 1 in this view. Only show design option 2. And then there's a little checkbox at the bottom right-hand corner of your Revit that says, uncheck, or current design option only. That's checked by default. So if you create something in a design option, you can't even select it until you uncheck that little box. That box is checking itself. So keep on checking it. That's one of the uses of design options. Cool. That's great. We all learned something. If you guys time it, I don't have all these. Got a big collection.
Yeah, I didn't mess with them for a couple of versions, and I saw in the new versions there's a lot more controls in the view to combine design options in one view. So if you have the foyer and the training room, both have design options. You can show those in one view with different combinations: A with B, A with C, A with D, and vice versa. Through that was really nice feature I saw.
Yeah, but if you're adding
that's why.
That's a lot more management to adjust. Sometimes these will just have separate models, depending on how much design option affects. Okay. So we'll keep this. We'll keep this going. I kind of want to be in the weeds a little bit, and then we can be out doing other things. We can go back into the weeds, things like that. But real thanks to Merrick Brothers for allowing us to crash your place. It's great. And Great Tech for providing pizza. And Gilbert, I don't know where Gilbert Consulting. Ex Great Tech.
Salute.
Great Tech X. Yeah. So thanks Gilbert for bringing me here. That makes the presentation so much more. Not that they're bad, but
Full time.
My name is Dat Lee. Tonight we've got a couple of good buddies of mine, Craig Uptmor and Kristian
Ten Wolde.
Yeah, I didn't want to mess up the last name.
Last name is 2 words.
Yeah. So Craig, they're both at PGAL now, but Craig used to work at Ziegler Cooper, which now, actually, this is Ziegler Cooper,
And more.
Christian's working at
EYP,
Gensler,
WHR, Gensler.
Yeah, so small world, like this. Is anybody out from over?
All buddies.
Yeah,
I
but
can.
Yeah. So yeah. So we were sitting around talking about what people would like to see. And they're like, I saw this really awesome presentation concerning VR stuff. And I know we've done VR before. And in fact, the last meeting we had in Augmented Reality, with Scott showing us that, and that was really cool. Which, by the way, he went and presented that at a PFAP conference. So ask him all about that. Great. That was really cool. We've done VR with the Oculus with Inkscape 3D, and that was really cool, really high definition stuff. But the issue is sharing those VR models, right? You can't readily share them. And so they said, hey, you know what? InsiteVR can do it. You can all jump into the same model, walk around as if you're there. It's kind of like, GoToMeeting, but for InsiteVR, basically. And then the other person I forgot to mention is Brian from InsiteVR. It's a little misleading, I know, in the description I said InsiteVR was going to be here. We're hoping we could get them over
You
here.
can say hello, Brian.
Yeah, next best thing is Brian is with us with the GoToMeeting. So, Brian?
You saw on there, Brian?
How's everyone? Good.
Good.
Well, so that's working.
Yeah.
Great. So, spaghetti mess up here. Luckily, everything's working until his laptop starts smoking. Then we should all evacuate to the nearest exit. But I'll turn it over to you guys.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dad. Thanks for everybody that sponsors this event. And
Yeah.
I learned so much through this event coming when I first started using Revit, and it's just been a staple for me. I just love meeting all the people and new users, and it's just been great. So Kristian and I are on a little journey, as my presentation says, a tale of experience. I think of VR as an experience more than anything else, and that's what's so hard to convey to somebody else is the experience you get when you put on the goggles. We can show the renderings, right? We can show the video walkthroughs. That's still not anything to compare to when you put on the goggles and you feel the environment. So my catchphrase, my cheesy little catchphrase that I'm going to copyright is, a picture's worth 1,000 words, VR is worth 1,000 feelings. So we're going to try to take you through a little bit of what we're experiencing, what we're feeling, and with VR, and maybe share some of your experiences that maybe y'all have seen or have done something different.
So
yeah, just give me credit.
give credit twice.
Yeah, that's right. Down on the end. So speaking on that, it's connecting with VR. So how would you get about connecting with it? We had a hard time trying to sell this to management and trying to get VR started in our firm. So I'll share you a little bit of some of the ins and outs and hardships we felt and trying to connect with it. So the first thing we did is we had an opportunity at a marketing meeting when the principal said, can y'all set up some VR for the marketing meeting? We want to kind of test it out and see what happens. So our only short-term solution, since we couldn't go through accounting and get POs and approvals, and there's too much red tape, right? So we just went over to Micro Center or Best Buy and just bought a set, kept the receipt, right? And we use it for the marketing meeting and then turn it back, right? We got the experience, right? So we got that experience to the rest of our firm in a way, right? We brought it into the marketing meeting. We said, this is what it'll do. Look at it. It's great. Who wants to put it on? I've already done it before. No. So you had what I call the nerd factor came on full bore in the meeting. Nobody wanted to don the gear to try it out and get that experience. So that's something we're constantly trying to get over, is that we got some ideas with some shading and some boosts and things that maybe we could do at a show or something. But that's kind of why I'm throwing all this out there. If we've got other better ideas to get over the nerd factor, that's something you've got to deal with. And then next is Autodesk University had a lot of great classes this year on AU. I'm sure they have for the last couple of years. But this one was really, really, really nice. Peter Marchesi was a great presenter and presented how to get your VR or VR environment from your Revit model into Stingray, and then showed you just the tip of the iceberg what you can do with it. So basically, you'd go through the VR model and you'd point at the ductwork, and it would tell you where that ductwork connected, what air handler is connected to, what's its supply rate, and any of that stuff. So in one regard, it's great for your owners or your teams going through the building and looking at it in VR and VR reviews, which Insight could help you with. But it also gives you another aspect to that you may not have thought you could pull all your Revit information or what you would do with it. So this is kind of a new canvas for everybody, and that this class kind of brought some ideas to my head. So if you want to write down the class, that's a great way to go back and find that class, is the AS125382 number. So that was a great class. The other one I went to was Alex Colombe's design iteration on VR. So what he's doing here is he's just drafting lines, and you can do some of this in Insight VR as well. Is you can basically start designing in an environment. What he did is he pulled his form Revit model out, his massing, into an environment, and then went into it in VR and started drawing all over it. So he's drawing and then designing the parts and the pieces inside the space, and that's what this kind of sketchy line work is. Then he takes that back out to Revit and then rebuilds his components around it, right, and hardens it up. So that's what he's doing in that presentation, and it was really, really nice. And that's AS128363 if you want to go to that one. So there were a lot more, and these are just two that I specifically saw. Kristian, did you see some there, or anybody else?
I didn't see a lot of VR. I didn't go to any VR classes, but I did don the VR backpack that was at the HP booth on the exhibition floor, and so it changes things when you're not tethered to a wire.
These wires,
you get
right?
rid of it, and you can walk around. You feel freer.
But you raise the nerd factor up a little bit. So
Yeah,
just
you have a backpack on. There's some associated weight, but it's definitely somewhat liberating to not have to worry about getting entangled in all the cords and stuff. So
then last way is accessible VR is the cardboard. If you haven't seen them before, I'm sure you've talked about them, is that cheap alternative that you can stick on your phones and get somebody that experience. There's quite a few apps that run that, and Brian can talk about how Insight VR may or may not be acceptable. Your quality is less, right? That's why people buy the Vive and the Oculus, is to push the quality up on the equipment. So
Is that a question for me?
Go ahead. Yeah, you have a comment. You have a comment on that, Brian?
Yeah, in terms of the quality of the rendering here.
Yes. Or will Insight run in a cardboard?
Oh, okay, in a cardboard. Okay, so yeah, with the cardboard, you are able to view 360 images with us. You can't do 3D models.
Yeah.
There are some companies out there, like a Julio, maybe a Modelo, where you'll be able to see very small 3D models of cardboard. But even if you do, it isn't the same experience as putting on a Rift or a Vive, or even a Gear VR, which we work with as well. What has been your experience so far, like in terms of the headsets that y'all been using? What have y'all found to be the most interesting or the most useful?
Yeah, we had that debate in the office. We're as a marketing effort or the use group, were we going to buy a bunch of cardboards or Gear VRs or whatever the case is as individual little platforms to go out, or were we going to buy a single set that we could start to manipulate and play with at a higher level? So what kind of presentation were we going to make to our clients or inside the office? And our decision was to go with the Rift. The one we bought at Best Buy, we could get it, and the setup seemed fine and easy. We weren't too worried about the setup from day to day, and then it gave you that higher quality, that higher response. So did you have any?
Did you get reimbursed for that?
We turned it back, so we didn't have to.
Oh,
Went back on the credit card. No, we bought these at Christmas, or right after. So, hey, Jason. Dad, did you have any decision making like that with your purchase for your company?
Well, we were on the SDK list for a while, so it was just a natural choice for us to go with Oculus. We still haven't gone to the touch yet, but I kind of really like the what's the other solution?
Vive?
Yeah, the Vive, the HTC Vive, but you can mount them in a bigger room
Yeah.
and then be able to walk around. And I was talking to you about the HP VR backpack.
Yeah, Microsoft makes the headset, and then Samsung and HP and like 4 vendors make the ones with the cameras that come out that work on the backpack really well.
Right. So I tried the backpack out at Built up in Toronto last year, and that was cool. Except that we crashed their system. It's supposed to be like really awesome laptop, but then we ended up crashing with our Chick-fil-A models. So I mean, Chick-fil-A is only like 5,000 or 6,000 square foot, so so we weren't too impressed with that. But at least you could walk around a big area, and for someone like Chick-fil-A, they can use it for training and things like that. So, so that's what they were.
That's where I was trying to, at least, if the principals had this vision of the marketing aspect of it, I really had the staff in my mind as a tool they could use it, and we've used it since we've presented on it, and several times. There was a gentleman, a designer, doing a firehouse, and it was a very quaint firehouse. It only held 2 trucks, and it was for a smaller municipality. And I asked him if he wanted to go look at it, so he brought it over and looked at it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that does. It's looking about what I thought it would, right? The scale and the window and all the pieces and parts, right?" But he said, "I really sold myself on the design and the detailing, that he had thought maybe he was kind of questioning on. Now he was like, yeah, it's going to look great." So, confirming your suspicions a lot of times on those design aspects is where I see a lot of the value, is that day-to-day person throwing it on for a few minutes and walking through the space and seeing if they see anything. Our LA team for the LAX airport walks through. The project manager actually wears them because he doesn't look at the drawings. He doesn't have time, so in the review meetings, he'll walk through and go, "That bulkhead's too low. That needs to be over. That opening needs." So he actually punches the building as he's going through it with the Revit model. It's something I'd never conceived of when I thought of VR before. So.
And we use it internally, as well, for design.
And that makes it easy. It takes all the pressure off. If it crashes, it's not a big deal. If you're in a presentation, this is, highly. I'll talk about it in a second. Anything you cut out for a presentation, you want to cut all those variables out.
Absolutely.
So just a few of the parts and pieces that we've considered is there's the Vive and the Oculus Rift there at the top. There's the Gear VR, which I know that the guys at Brian and the guys at Insight like to use because it's wireless, right? You can go ahead and pre-download the environment into the goggles and then have them sitting there, and they're pretty responsive, and they take their the unit itself. Brian and I talked about this earlier. It actually enhances what the phone can do, so it can handle more polygons. He'll talk about the polygon limits on their specific stuff. And then the cardboard, right, is just that entry-level experience. If you think about it, you had to buy the cardboard, but you also have to buy the phone. So if the phone is $300-400, even if it doesn't have a cell signal, it's only running Wi-Fi, then that's not as cheap as you once thought it was. So usually the Gear VR is dropping down in the $100 range, so that's usually where to go if you're going for independent wireless. And I know Oculus is working on theirs and their wireless systems, and so is Vive.
What's the general opinion of the different systems in comparison?
Yeah, I had some offhand experience because one of our guys took our set we had for Dallas up to theirs to do a presentation with Jay Dunn. Jay Dunn has a Vive, so we actually had to do side-by-side comparisons on those. And I think his take back was the Oculus is very easy to set up compared to the Vive. Also, if you just want to run the headset, you can just run the headset with the Oculus, whereas the Vive, you have to have the controllers in your hand, which actually distract a lot of people that don't play first-person shooters all the time. They start hitting the controller, "Oh, I'm in the floor, oh, I hit the wall," and it takes the presentation out into left field really quickly. We learned that at our last one in the office with Brian. He had a guy on there just was really into his space, right? Since he couldn't see anybody, his embarrassment went away. So he started drawing faces on Brian and walking around and just was not into the presentation to the rest of the audience. He was in his own little world, and it kind of, that's the power of the unit, right? It kind of tricked him, and that it wasn't anything more than that, but he just wasn't presenting to anybody but his own self, right? And that was not good for our class presentation. So anyway, sorry about that, Brian. So that's what I'm talking about, the controllers, right? Having them in somebody's hand. So you have to have them with the Rift. So and the Rift was going to go to sleep if somebody moved the controllers. So before our presentation at Dallas, the guy had to sit there while the rest of the presentation was going and like wiggle the controller every now and then. So things you don't ever know about, right, until you have the equipment and use it, and we'll deal with it, right, until the next thing comes along, right, the next greatest piece of VR. Other than that, I don't know if the range on the Vive, right, is great, and they have add-on pieces, so you could actually take a dongle on there and put it on a 3D model maybe, and then manipulate those two objects as they were one in two environments, the virtual environment. Have you had any of that, Brian?
In terms of the
Vive dongles that adding to stuff?
The dongle, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Okay. I saw it on their website, and I'd heard of. You can actually take your old Nintendo Duck Hunt gun and stick it on there, and then convert it into your peripheral, right? Whatever that is. So I guess if you're a gamer, that's really important, right? So we could use it in architecture, right? We could find a way.
I guess practical application architecture would be, have a piece of cardboard, and that cardboard represents all the different.
Yeah, so that's stuff now that we've got the equipment in hand in the office that I'm looking at playing with and trying to come up with new ideas on how to present and use it. So that's kind of my take on the gear. Do you have any other questions about differences in the gear? So these little sensors, yours has one sensor, right? And you don't have the touch controllers? Yeah. We're in the office, I love the touch controllers, and Brian will show you how to use them, how to scale things up and down and pinch and pull. It's pretty intuitive. Most people get it. I'd say most people. But obviously, to take those away and just have somebody in the gear is a big benefit as well.
Anybody here have VR?
You guys? Yeah. So lastly, I kind of alluded to this VR presentations. Get there early. We got here about 30 minutes early, and we're still a few minutes late getting started. And you see all the wires that we have to drape across. And I was trying some different setups that I've never set up before. There's a third sensor that can go on over there that can increase how you can spin around and do stuff, but it's not necessary. But I was going to try it out to see if I could get a different setup and different things. And you see I have a wire set in here, so you need to have some time to manage all that. My first presentation, I was in Florida and went to set up, and they had one wire running from there down to here. It was a male HDMI cable, and that was going to take the place of my headset. So if I plugged that into the monitor, I had no headset, right? So in the middle of the presentation, or right before the presentation, and we got there right on time, right? We didn't leave any time for thinking and getting this done. So I had to quickly figure out, it's like, okay, we can't do the headset, but we'll walk through and I'll just fly through the model with the environment. So there was a lot of things that went on in that meeting that we learned from, some tough lessons. So get there early, get there a day ahead of time if you can. Practice your setup. I mean, any of that is just really, really valuable when you're dealing with new stuff. Anything you can take out of the loop is also good. Similarly, I say prepare for a closed loop setup. So if I have my own projector here, and if I needed to, I don't have to, I could project the VR right on the screen next to it, right? Using a dual projector setup, so that would take out any of the VR aspect of the presentation. And so if somebody else had another laptop, or if this setup already had a laptop, I could just plug my USB for my presentation in and take VR off to the side by itself. So there's some aspects of that lend to safety in your presentation. So that's some things that we're thinking about trying to mitigate that risk. Anything we can pull off and put on the laptop does not use Wi-Fi for a big presentation, that helps as well. Yeah, have all your wires and connectors. That's what I didn't have. I didn't have an adapter for male-to-male HDMI. So now we got all that in the bag.
And on top of that, I threw you for another loop by plugging in a recording device. So what we're trying to do also, why you guys are taking notes and stuff like that, is we're recording the meetings. We'll have them on the Meetup site for you guys to do afterwards.
Yeah, Dad said he hooked up the recording device. So without further ado, Kristian's going to don the gear, and we'll launch Brian and Kristian into the Insight collaboration site and show you kind of what maybe a part of VR you didn't think about either is getting two people together in an environment and collaborating. All right, Brian.
Yeah, real quick. Oh yeah, I just wanted to make a note on some things. What you said. One of the most important things whenever you're looking at getting into VR is what kind of experience do the people who you want to jump into VR have with the technology, right? So you're talking about the different kinds of gear, the cardboard, the Gear VR, Rift, the Vive, the new mixed reality headsets. Every single thing has different levels of use cases, right? One thing that InsiteVR can do is, let's imagine you have people, they just want to kind of see some images, some renderings that you have. You can send people a text message, and then just on their phone, they're able to jump in. Right? Just on their phone, looking with their phone, they can put it into Cardboard, look around, they can have a very basic VR experience. You mentioned something very important. Sometimes people don't feel, people are trying to mess around with the controllers. It becomes necessary to understand how to control that and how to make sure that some people don't even know what to do with the controllers, to be able to control them in another way, right? So one thing that will be shown today is kind of the powers that myself as a presenter has over the group. I just pressed the button to teleport both me and Craig.
Oh, that's Kristian, but that's okay.
What's that?
Oh, that's all right. It's Kristian, but it's okay.
Kristian. So Kristian, I was able to teleport Kristian to another view. Sometimes you would just need to put a headset on a client or an individual who isn't very used to VR, isn't very used to technology, maybe just doesn't feel comfortable with it. Putting on the headset and just teleporting them, not giving them controllers at all, is probably going to be the best way to go, right? And then you would be able to teleport them to particular views. So I say, let's go to the stairwell. I'm able to click on this button, and now Kristian's in the stairwell.
It's also good maybe to sit people down in a chair, a swivel chair. They feel a little more stable. They don't get so disoriented, and that's something I found that helps people a lot.
Is Total Free Mark back?
Yeah, that's an additional $10 add-on.
So,
And,
Brian, remind people where you are right now. What city are you in?
I'm in New York City.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, technically Jersey City, but don't be hateful about it. So I'm in New York City right now. I'm able to connect with people anywhere as long as they have an internet connection, and we can wave to each other. Hello, how are you doing, Kristian?
Good. How are you?
Good. I want to say hi, right? I'm able to draw in the air with his red markings, and forgive me because I'm trying to do this while looking at the computer. Give me just a second. I'll put on the headset officially. So part of, wow, okay, that's just had to take it the next step forward.
You can't stretch that.
Our idea of our platform is trying to make it where we as where virtual reality is a collaborative experience, not an isolated, right? So right now, Kristian and I are in the same model. Kristian, unbeknownst to him, unbeknownst to Kristian, I'm currently looking at him in dollhouse mode. And I'll show you, we'll do the flip side in just a second. But you're going to see a big red mark that's going to appear in front of Kristian right now. I'm currently looking at a scale model and drawing in space right in front of him, right? I can say, you know what, let's get Craig here as well. I'll show you how this looks like.
We can have him teleport if you want.
Yeah, actually, can you just come up to the?
Yeah, point your teleporter straight up, Kristian.
Yeah.
There you go. When it turns light blue, then more straight up. Just went up to. Keep going up. There, when it's light blue, you'll go to Dawson. Yep.
There you go. So right now, Kristian and I are in dollhouse mode. As presenter, I'm able to grab this model and move it as I wish. So we're at 5, 10 people inside of the model, all trying to grab the model at once. I, as presenter, am the only one who's able to do this. I can expand it, make it bigger, make it smaller. And Kristian, while you're in here, just stay in that point of view. Now you can see me as a small person here in the building, right? You're able to then, from this mode, sketch into it. So let's say, hey, I want to make an addition here. Forgive me, I'm not an architect, so I'm not going to be perfect here with the line. But we can sketch out different things you may want to alter about this model. Maybe add a door here.
You know, layers or work sets. Simple fun.
So it's, Kristian, you want to try that out with your left hand? Just draw something out here. Sure. The idea is here is a group of people, whether it be with clients or collaborating internally in the same office or anywhere across the country or across the world, allows you to be able to jump in and look at them all together, be able to put your head inside the model if you really want, and kind of judge for yourself what are some things that you may want to change or alter or have another look at in your Rev file, SketchUp, etc. Now that said, the person who can get the most value out of it is ultimately going to be the person who isn't constantly working in BIM, isn't using Revit, isn't using SketchUp, your client. What they are going to be able to see from this, in terms of visualizing a model, in terms of what it's going to look like when it's completed, goes above and beyond just looking at a 2D screen and being able to understand, looking at a 2D screen at a Revit model, at a SketchUp model, on a map, whatever it is. Any questions so far? Anything you wanted to particularly look at?
Can you put a section for that model?
Sorry?
He said, can you cut a section through the model?
No, there's no section boxing in this, not yet. That's one of the things we're developing over the next couple months. A tool that's coming out shortly is going to be a measuring tool, so you can go from point to point.
The scale is on the table. If Kristian, if you teleport to the front of the table, you can
Right over here.
to the opposite
Also,
corner.
Kristian, you can, you have the wrist, the touch controller, correct?
Yes, he does.
With your left thumbstick, you can move around the model.
And then you can grab the model. If he pinches with both hands and pulls it apart, it'll rescale and tell you what scale you're looking at the model at. There you go.
I'm just looking at the scale so people can see it change. Are people seeing what I'm seeing? Or
Yeah, we're seeing what you're seeing, Kristian.
Now, that's another thing with this platform. As presenter, I can start following someone else's screen, so I can start follow Greg here. Or sorry, not Greg, Kristian. And actually, right now, if I have the headset on, I can't do it. But I could follow Kristian, and I could, from his point of view, shoot out a laser pointer and point out different things in the model. And now imagine your client has a headset on, is looking at something and saying, oh, I don't like this, or we should probably change this. You are, from the computer, able to right-click on the screen, looking at exactly what that client is seeing, saying, what are you talking about this? And be able to shoot out a laser pointer and pinpoint something specifically.
Can you make me presenter, Kristian? I mean, Brian?
I can't make you presenter on this because you're not part of this project. I'll have to go on here, but you have
on my project
that you want to invite me to?
No, it's okay. We need to go to the 360 views because I definitely don't have any of that in mind. And then we can switch over.
Okay, cool. So, why don't you, Kristian, why don't you go ahead and teleport in there and jump in the 360 views. Oh, where'd you go? Another power I have, I've lost Kristian. I can say, Kristian, just come to me. And so I just teleported him directly to where I am.
You have to use the thumb controllers.
Teleport in there? Sorry?
He's going to have to, teleport in there. It'll be fine.
So what y'all are seeing on the screen right now, Kristian is in a 360 rendering. It's an Enscape rendering. I think y'all mentioned it before. Enscape loves us. We work in conjunction with them quite a bit because they are very much so focused on the visualization for an individual, kind of jumping in there, being able to change things, move things around. For us, it's the collaboration piece that is our focus. We allow these 360 renderings in here to give you a much more photorealistic view of a model, but without having to have that high cost that it takes to walk around such a rendering, where it would lower the frame rate. Okay. You may try it today. What Kristian is doing with the headset, walking around, he's looking at around the 90 frames per second for a refresh rate for the headset, which is ideal. If you go to 60, it's okay. Anything below 60, you're going to start, someone can start to feel that VR sickness that y'all all heard about. So our goal has been focus on keeping that refresh rate up, and then everything else secondary. Any questions? Anything you want to look at more specifically?
You can go over the noting feature since you've got a couple notes there, Brian.
Sure. So I'm going to grab Kristian out of here. So there's these annotations that I've placed throughout the model. These annotations you can place again from the perspective of an individual, and you do it from the keyboard and mouse. So every single one of these annotations, whenever they're taken, it comes from exactly the view in which someone was at whenever they were created. So let's say that Kristian was looking at this couch, and then I was on the computer. I could, from his point of view, create that annotation and place it there. That exact view is then saved. So whenever I teleport both of us to a particular annotation like this one, add a door here, this was the exact view that someone was looking at when that annotation was created. Each one of these views with the annotations are then saved and put into a PDF that you're able to print out or save and send it off in an email to the client, making double-checking notes that you made during the meeting, or maybe internally so that you can go look at it at the data.
So I just teleported him by clicking on the comment where that comment was made. So now Kristian's looking at where to move the door up here in this framing module. All right.
All right. Do you want to try and demonstrate that with inviting me to one of your meetings?
Sure, we can try that out. So I'm going to go ahead and close this version of Insight and jump over to a demo that they've set up for us here. So this is a rendering. You okay, Kristian?
Yeah.
You need a bag?
No.
Bag, you good? Okay. So this particular model, we uploaded them as a test. This is one we ran in Insight and walked through in a meeting with the client. In a large presentation, they wanted to show their constituents. It was a police department. He wanted to show all the other officers the designs they're working on, and the owner actually wanted, or the project manager wanted one of his lieutenants to wear the headset and get the experience. So I thought that was a really unique aspect of the presentation, is that he invited his lieutenant to don the headset while they went through it. It wasn't because he was going to get sick. He's a pretty adventurous, roller coaster guy. So, but this is our DFW DPS office that we're working on. So it's fully rendered in Inkscape through the main parts of the model. And something we didn't have a lot of time to set up in Insight was the views. So you could teleport. If I had views set up, I could teleport people across the model. And maybe I'll go back out to the dollhouse, Kristian, and go back. We don't have any 360s. That's why I wanted Brian to show you the 360 models. But I have made some comments in here that I put on when I was in edit mode to this. So if I double click, Craig was here in the comments. It should transport him into the common lobby area. And if you want to see this also in Inkscape, I can bring that up and show you kind of the differences in the rendering quality. But like Brian said, the big focus here is collaboration and getting people to go through and check off different parts of the model and then talk about those, especially in early on design. So I could see this really being used in our office, inner office between designers in one office and project manager in the other office, and trying to get that feeling of how the space is going.
Is Brian in here yet?
Oh, did I not invite you, Brian?
Presentation button.
Hit the presentation button. There it is.
Yeah, on the bottom right of the screen.
Oh, there you go. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and then click start. And then it says invite up on the top right. Click on that. And then just send me that link and I'll click on it. When you send it in.
Got it. Going into chat. Oop, no, I just unshared my screen.
Yeah, this is a good demonstration of just how easy it is to get someone inside of the model with you. It is quite literally click on a link. If they don't have the application, they install it, and then they're inside of it.
So do I have the laser now?
Yeah, because it's the same person. You don't have the laser because you're just looking at what's on the who's currently in there.
Me, myself, and I.
In there. You can right click. Actually, can you try right clicking right now?
Yeah, it's not giving it to me.
Yeah. That's because you're currently looking at.
I'm presenting to myself.
Kristian. Yeah, you're presenting to yourself. So, I just joined the model. You can start following me now if you want.
You do annotation to that 360.
Oh, where'd it go?
Oh yeah. I brought it back to
for me to load up.
This is a big model. We had a talk earlier about how many polygons can you put into Insight because it's a web-based compression of the model. So Brian, you want to talk about that?
Yes. So you can go up to 15 million triangles for the Rift, the Vive, the mixed reality headsets, or just walking around the PC. If you want to do the Gear VR, you can go up to 9 million triangles in that thing.
So something you make.
Start following me now? I'm sorry, you were asking a question, Chris?
I was just saying there's methods of cropping the model to keep the polygons down. So we were mainly presenting in this model through the front door and through the back. So we could have cropped out a lot of the guts and the insides of the model if we wanted to. But we were trying to push the limits of what we think we could throw in there. And so we pretty much left everything on. So are we following you, Brian? So I can't follow you in VR. So I guess it's probably because I'm myself.
Wait, but you can't see me. You can see it in the. Oh yeah, the headset needs to be taken off in order to do that.
Yeah.
Or follow me.
Oh yeah, Kristian, you want to take it off? See what happens. All right, so let's follow Brian. All right, we're with you, Brian.
Okay. All right. So where is the model? Oh.
Under the table.
That's it. I see Kristian now. Can you still see? Can you still follow me? Or
Yeah. No, I've switched over to Kristian. So. Okay. All right, Kristian, take it off again. Let's follow Brian. See what he has for us. All right, now we're with you, Brian.
All right, great. So right now you can see everything that I see. If I just teleported off the map, you're right clicking and I see a laser pointer.
So check out that window, Brian. Go over to this area.
Go up there.
So I bring him to one of my comments again. I could pull him over to this environment, and then we can talk about the chair and the color of this tone or that tone, and point to it. So he's seeing through his vision my laser pointer going through his Rift or his headset, whatever he's using.
So could you make a comment real quick? Just,
sure.
I'll make a comment. I'll judge something real quick. No.
Okay.
All right. This should be an espresso machine. Let me know whenever you start adding it, and I'll start walking away.
Oh, okay. Sorry. All right, it's on.
Right. So now I can walk anywhere else. If you click on that annotation, it will bring you back to that view. This is exactly what I was looking at before. Right. So this view is now saved. If you go to the InsiteVR.com, you log in there, you click on the project, you will see this in the annotation page. You will see this exact view and that annotation right next to it. These are notes that you can have from the meeting. instead of trying to have someone in VR, they're walking around, they're isolated, and then you're just making notes via just on paper and pencil, we allow you to just grab these and include them inside of a PDF element.
So there's something I'm remembering from our previous talks, Brian, is that you can send these links out to your clients and have them review the model, and then you can watch what they watched when they walked around. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if I
That's
would.
called the analytics feature. We don't turn it on unless there's a specific situation, just because it is very taxing. But yeah, it is it's a way that someone can be walking around the model, they'll look at certain things, and you'll create a heat map depending on what they're looking at and how long they're looking at it.
So as an owner's perspective or a manager's perspective or building user, if they burn a certain area of the model quite heavily, either they liked it a lot or they couldn't figure it out or they didn't know what was going on, right? So maybe there's be some questions or development on that particular piece and get some feedback. Even though they never really told you anything, you get to see a lot of maybe visual burn in that area. So I thought that was really interesting. Any other questions?
Also, the flip side is really important. What did they not look at? What didn't they get to see?
Yeah, that is very true.
Even comments in 360.
Oh, yeah, I believe so. He asked if you could do comments in the 360 rendering views.
Yes, correct. And one thing, if we have some time, I'd be happy to send out a 360 link to whoever like, and you can see how I can see what you're looking at on your cell phone as well. The renderings, of course.
You can't walk through the model on a mobile device, iPad, or whatever.
He asked if you have your mobile phone or your iPad or whatever, can you walk through the model with touch controls on the screen? But you can join presentations.
No. You with just let's say you have just an iPhone.
Yeah.
The only presentations you can look at are 360 presentations. Okay. You will not be able to look at the 3D model, the presentation or not.
So otherwise, somebody could be on their computer following along and just turning with the mouse and following along to a presentation, but looking at whatever they want on a computer.
Correct. One thing that we're releasing is either going to be this Friday or Monday is the ability, let's say that I'm in my headset, you have 4 or 5 people on their computers. I can force everyone to just follow what I'm looking at. Basically like a screen share. And so everyone's going to be looking around, they'll see exactly what's happening. In that development, we're trying to make that so it'll work on cell phones, just so you can do it. Like a GoToMeeting, how you're able to jump in there and see someone's screen. We want that to be the same kind of situation you can do with us.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
In this, are you only able to see the finished product, or can you see the other disciplines, structure?
You mean peel it apart?
Yeah.
Like layers?
Yeah, layers or
Yeah.
do a translucent, turn that translucent, and you'll see the structure of the different cases, the things that
Yeah. I believe if you rendered it that way, you could probably do it. Brian, the question was, can you switch the transparency on certain objects and look through things to see structure or other mechanical elements?
No, you're not able to turn off layers. You have to do it beforehand, but I can start here. I can start flying around, and so I can go anywhere I want. And now I can put my head in this wall and kind of look inside of it if I want. So you can you don't turn off the layers, but you can just go through that as you wish.
That's probably good if you're in there by yourself, right? And you can kind of, I need to go look at this duct to see what does this stuff look like up here. It's been modeled properly. What kind of connection do I have? That sort of thing.
So if I take a transparent architectural model, and I combine it with solid LED models, and then render it, is that what I'm going to see?
So
Yeah.
you hear that, Brian? Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. Anything that is, let's say you're looking at you have a Revit model. All your Revit links, if you have them turned on, they're going to show up in your in the model. Whatever is in the 3D view in Revit, if you export it, that's exactly what you'll see.
So owners could enjoy that. That's probably what I heard. Facilities, facility needs and operations. You could actually do that model. Could you leave the comments in, like for instance, locations of VAV boxes or valves, and that way they could just walk through the model.
Yeah, he asked if you could just leave the comments in there and send the link out. I believe that's yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, they could scroll through the comments and look at it, and then look around, and then jump to the next comment. Is that's what you're trying to kind of a passively led review. And
Exactly.
the more markups you make, they come in tomorrow. They keep looking at the markups. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
going back to one of our main focuses, Insight, is the idea that this should be a collaborative experience, not an isolating one. Our membership is specifically designed to allow as many people as possible to join the meeting, so to look at models, whatever. None of our memberships are based on number of users. You can have unlimited users. Inside, outside the organization, clients, non-clients, it does not matter. What matters is that you're able to jump inside and share this with whoever you'd like to. Okay? You're just limited on how many models you can upload at one given time.
Yeah, we had one question.
Are you able to look at like smart tags for, say, a pipe, or it's like if you have a conflict between utilities while you're in the VR mode?
Yeah, he's talking about more of the BIM information coming through.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, we don't have that. No. The only thing they have is what you're looking at right now, which is we recognize the door family in Revit, so you can walk through it.
Any questions? That's a good one.
What's up?
I was going to ask about, so you, like, where you don't walk through walls, and you walk through the model within the boundaries of the physical items?
You hear that, Brian?
Yeah. Yeah, so to make it so that there's this item, yeah, like right now I'm in walk mode. I'm running into this pole, I can't go through it.
Yeah, that helps people a lot.
Yeah, like going back to comfortability, if someone has never done VR before, and then you give them controllers, and then you start having them fly like I am right now, I guarantee you they will feel safe.
Yeah.
You have to, it's baby steps. Imagine you've lived your entire life and never been on an elevator, and then you get on the elevator and go up 100 floors. You're going to feel sick. Okay? It's the same kind of thing. So you just have to do baby steps and get people used to it. I'm flying now. When I first tried flying in this, I felt sick. You have to get used to it. Your brain has to be retrained to understand what it is and is not.
Any questions?
So fly mode, we can move through things, and walk mode, we run into things.
Correct. Yeah. In fly mode, you're basically Superman that can go through walls. Minus the laser vision, unless you have a presenter who really likes shooting out the laser.
I have it. There you go. There's your laser vision.
What was your question?
Oh, I was just thinking, when you send somebody, can you send to a phone and through a QR code or a link, dollhouse mode, and actually use it to locate somewhere in a facility? They can see where they are using dollhouse mode on their phone.
Oh. No, that's very interesting.
Yeah, you're saying they could hit their phone and they would throw them to dollhouse mode and show them.
Okay, it would put them in a 360 environment, and they know exactly where they were. There's so many applications you can use that for.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that, but that is very interesting. So you're looking at a 360 photo, and then you'll be able to see where in the dollhouse you are.
Correct.
Yeah, I think he's saying if you're in an actual facility and you're walking through and you're in the mechanical room, they want to know, okay, where is this? What is it next to? you can snap it with your phone, and it'll take you in a virtual environment to that place, basically that position of where that comment was or picture. So each of the QR codes have a comment in there, and then it'll take you to that comment. And then you can fly around and be as free as you want to investigate pipe directions or valves and VAV boxes.
Being a 360, the 360 location from a mobile device, you can't actually do the walkthrough, but to locate yourself.
Yeah. And I guess he also mentioned the dollhouse mode was basically when you hit the QR code, it takes you to dollhouse mode, and then it has a pin where that particular comment is. Would be what you're talking about. Sounds doable on their feature list.
Yeah. No, it definitely does sound doable. That's something I'm bring up. Where that's going to fall in terms of when that can be made. I mean, we have a lot of things on the docket. That said, it does sound very intriguing. Like, so, are you saying that it would be where if I was inside this conference room over here in real life, that my phone would be able to know where I was relative to the model?
Correct, because you're scanning a QR code, so it's automatically going to take you to that link 360 view. Because you said all it is a file, right? All it is a link. And if the QR code links you to that, pops you into that 360 view. And you say, have you ever been to MD Anderson down in the Med Center? That place is a maze. I mean, you could put a QR code near elevators and people could see it in dollhouse mode where they were. And go, oh, that's where that is. Oh, that's where that is.
Yeah, my car's over here.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I was thinking of the maintenance guys. If that linked to a 360 rendering with the transparent mode y'all were talking about, now you can see all the ducts, right? You can just spin around and you're getting it all right there in your phone, which would be very valuable.
So a physical QR code in that conference room in real life, and you'll be able to scan it and just be like, oh, now you're inside the mall at that place.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah. No, we haven't played with that. But that's something I'll definitely bring up. I think that would be a very intriguing way to kind of use it, where you'd be able to print out QR codes for, if it's in construction and just place them all over in all different places.
Well, even
and then be able to just scan that out.
There's facilities applications for that too.
Yeah.
And occupancy applications.
Oh yeah, if you're in the hospital room. Same thing, just as a visitor.
Is there any way to make it less responsive so that it's more fluid and less strong? Even though that might still not reduce the smart tag inside, it's drawing that of people I have to present to not put down. It's too responsive.
Yeah. So Brian is asking about can you adjust the controls to smooth it out to where they can't jerk their head can do all they want, right? But it's what the controllers do.
Disconnect there.
Yeah. So you don't like this here?
Yeah. Yeah. That I know what you're doing. Go ahead and tell them.
The drawing.
So you can make it where you don't give them the controller, I guess.
So if you have the controller, what he's doing is hitting the controller left like this, and it's panning like a couple degrees.
Yes.
That helps you turn around, because I know
Well, I noticed when you do that, it is good. Transition the panel is smooth.
but it's when he moves his head. But otherwise, if you don't want to move your head, you're sitting in a static chair, but you want to look behind you, and you don't want to teleport backwards, you would hit that controller, and it would do those little snaps. So you're just saying smoothing those snaps out a little bit.
Snapping makes you not extrude.
So when I'm in Inkscape and I turn it, when I grab it and turn something, I start to really sit. So I lose frame rates.
Yeah, I suspected what that was said in the back might be true, but maybe, have some control based on that.
I think
Yeah, and that's why I wouldn't necessarily give him the controller and have him sit in the chair and just kind of hold on a little bit, and then just kind of gradually take them. That's why the fade to black is nice and fade back in on the next scene, because if they just shot you there like a laser, yeah, you'd start to really get sick quick. Yeah, it is a walk up. It is something you're going to do very slowly and work people into it. Because I've got a lot of people at the office that, oh, no one put it on me, I got sick last time. So it's just something they need to do gradually.
way to change profiles or if you have a customer profile with a profile. So that way you can adjust frame rate, adjust everything.
Yes, if there's different profiles for different people where you could like slow down their controllers, like a newbie controller versus a more of an expert person.
Well, you can change those settings, and you can show it on the bottom right hand of the screen with that gear icon. You can change someone's height. You can change how fast they can walk. You can change
Run speed.
and inclusion on and off. But yeah, those are some basic things. Like sometimes you want to make it so they're very slow. I think right now I'm set at 2 miles per hour or 2 kilometers an hour. You can set yourself, whoever's on the computer, to a certain level and tell them how to do so as well. They're going to be on their computers. If it's on the headset, it's probably going to be yours, and you would just adjust the floating. Yeah, but frame rate, the frame rate is going to be the same. Well, there's going to be a difference for the mixed reality headsets. If you use it, their low settings on a worse computer, then that frame rate will go down a bit necessarily, depending on the size of the model.
So you brought up a good point that we've debated about is like what computer should we buy for the headset and the support. So headset, the Oculus has come down in price quite a bit, so it's very achievable. What you may not be set up for is the hardware for the computer. And this is kind of that medium range. We wanted some portability for ours, so we chose kind of a thinner model, and but did have a GTX 1070 video card in it from NVIDIA. So we're not in the middle line. If you go up to the 1080 and you get a bigger, fatter laptop, and obviously if you can get a little portable briefcase computer, you can put a full video card in it, and that's going to bring your frame rates and your responsiveness up. And it's more for maybe a lot of other programs versus Insight, which is toning things down a bit, giving you great frame rates, but adding that mobility to it. So we didn't talk too much about hardware.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, there's a lot of things coming out as well. But for right now, best bang for your buck, I'm going to have to say it's going to be the Samsung Odyssey. I actually checked before this meeting. It's right now on Amazon, for whatever reason, it's down from $500 to $400.
Oh, really?
It has a higher resolution than both the Rift and the Vive, and it has better tracking than both the Rift and the Vive. One thing you may notice with the Rift that you're seeing there, it has camera setup. With the Samsung Odyssey or any of the mixed reality headsets, they are all, the camera is inside-out tracking. So there's cameras on the headset itself, and it requires a lot less.
Show them where they are.
What?
Oh, I was going to say,
sorry, go ahead.
the cameras are located in here if you haven't seen those mixed reality ones that he's talking about. So it does the tracking in the headset. You don't need any other setup. So those are really nice.
Yeah, our sensors are down on the ground too. So.
Yeah. So going back to the idea of portability, the mixed reality headsets, they can work on a lot weaker computers. They don't require a lot higher end graphics cards like the Rift or the Vive do. So you only can do lower end things or things that don't require super high end visuals. But that will be fine for software like us because we aren't focused on it. So I have my work computer, it's a laptop. I can't run the Rift or the Vive on it. Right now I'm on my home computer, and it's a very good computer, so I can run the Rift, no problem. But the computer I have for the office, it can't run the Rift or the Vive, but it can run the mixed reality headset. Right? So I can move around, the frame rate's great, I'm able to wander around the model, it's entirely fine. And it's a thin and cheap laptop, it costs something like $700, $800. So I can, or actually a lot less, it's like $500. But I can take that laptop with me anywhere I want. Plug it in, plug in my headset, and then I'm ready to go. So if you're talking about ease of use setup, and then better visual quality, better resolution, and better tracking, so the Samsung Odyssey is the best. For $500 or for $400 right now, it's cheaper than the Vive and only slightly more expensive than the Rift.
Any other questions? You want to try it?
I'm
Yeah.
looking and
Are you taking orders?
we'll see.
So I guess, Brian, go over your pricing structure because I think it's very valuable. He mentioned so many people, there's unlimited people could get on this once you have it. So if you want to go ahead and talk about that. And any
Yeah,
coupons we
so-
may get.
Sorry?
Any coupons we may get.
Yeah, that's something we got for you guys. So for InsiteVR, Craig just mentioned, it's unlimited use. As many people as you want inside, outside the organization, different offices, doesn't matter. We want you to be able to jump in it with as many people as possible. You're limited by number of models you can upload at one time. Models and images. So you have 3 basic membership options. 5 project slots, 3 project slots, and 1 project slot. For each project slot, you can have 1 model and up to 10 360 images uploaded at any time. Imagine it's kind of like a parking spot, right? If you have one project slot and you have 4 cars, you can only have 1 car at a time, but you can take that car out and put another car in and do that as often as you want throughout the membership. So for 5 project slots, it is $4,200 for the year. For 3, it's $3,300. For 1, it's $1,200. However, y'all are all here in this meeting. Everyone who attends, you will all receive a 10% off coupon for InsiteVR as long as you move forward before the end of the month.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brian.
Any other questions? Dat? Free headset?
Dad wants a
Oh,
free
yeah.
headset.
Well, actually, you do get a free headset if you move forward with the 5 project option. You will have to forego the 10% though. Great off.
Yeah. And what I like about it, it's a great entry point. It doesn't require a lot of hardware. Like you said, if you have the other piece of hardware, you can start up pretty light and still get into the VR mode. All right. Well, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us here, and thanks, Dat, for hosting, and
Yeah.
Merrick
Thanks a lot,
for
everybody.
this.
Yeah, Brian,
Scott.
thanks for taking time out. Yeah. I know it's like
Absolutely, thank you guys.
8 o'clock this time.
Yeah.
8:30.
Yeah, 8:30.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you're welcome to come up and try it. If you want to talk to Brian, you can. It's interesting because you can actually hear him on the headset. If you are talking, you actually hear him locally, not just through speakers.
Do we want to tackle any more of these?
Oh, one other thing I want to make sure we mention, we offer complimentary trials, so if anybody wants to try us out for 2 weeks, you're more than welcome to. Just get my contact info, I'll get you set up.
Thanks, Brian.
Real quick, next meeting is a month now, second Tuesday of the month, and we already have a presentation that IDE is going to come. They're going to fly all the way from something like that, away, far away from here. They're going to be here.
Neverland?
Doing they're going to talk about playing Revit type. You know, right? Model, you're like, where's this, where's that? I want to see this. I've got a link in here somewhere that's gone. So we both something like that. Lots of giveaways, possible experiences, where to look, PG, designing options, phasing, where to look for some of these things, ordering which, most likely said you could find something. So it becomes a good night. Given by none other than
I didn't see it.
Anyway, so he was one of the original Revit technology ones back in the fall. Richard, yeah, Richard. Got a copy of Revit back. Wasn't bought out a lot. It's good. So yeah, so you can still hear me asking all the questions about what it was like, before I was a lot of stuff.
I was going to donate my list of how to find stuff that I've developed over the last couple of years. So if you need a takeaway, at least that's something too.
Yeah.
It's only about this long. No. We can compare notes with some of you guys if you have share ones on each other's list.
Awesome. All right, thanks, guys.
Anyone wants to come up and walk around, you can do that.